Hi YouTube, how are you? Welcome to the launch of my channel, Psychology Demystified. I'm Dr. Karen and I'm joined by someone who you've heard a lot about in a lot of other videos I've done, but I'm sure you're wondering, is she real? Is she really real? Well, she is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to welcome Dr. Michelle.
Oh.
I am so excited that she's joining me today because I heard you asked, I listened, and here it is.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking everything psych. She will be joining me once in a while, and we will be talking about different topics. So welcome to the first part of my channel, and I'm really hoping that this information helps you or helps someone that you know, because again, this is why we do this. It's to help you know what to do and how to help someone. So we're going to launch into the first part of a 3-part series, which is going to be about pretty much explaining what it is that we do, what to expect. The first one is going to be about who goes to therapy. Who goes? The second one is going to be about how to find a therapist. And the third one is going to be about, what was the last one I said? I did say it was going to be about what a first session would look like. So we're going to try and walk you through what a first session would look like so that you're not totally thrown and surprised. Because again, a lot of times our fear comes from not knowing. So we're trying to address that today. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here.
Let me start by saying, first of all, well done. And just the work that you've been doing, I'm so honored to come on your show and just to be able to demystify, because therapy is so uniquely important. But yeah, people get it confused, and maybe from the stigma and the history of psychology. So being able to come to a place where we can see the beauty of it and such good results when you go to therapy. So you doing this, thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm really hoping it's helpful to you as well. That is our main goal at the end of the day.
True.
Awesome. So let's just launch right into it.
All right.
So I have my trusty notepad. As you know, I always have my notes because I like to do research. I don't like to talk just randomly. Sometimes I like to have backing from people who've done it before, because again, everything I'm talking about and everything we're talking about, it's not new. We didn't create it. We found people who have done research on it, who have all the knowledge, have the facts, have the statistics. So why recreate the wheel? So that's what we use. So you will see the notepad all the time, every time. It's not going to look pretty sometimes because of course they're red notes, but it does the job, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what we want it to do. So who goes to therapy? I think everyone does.
I think everyone should.
And everyone, exactly. And I think
everyone should.
Yeah, the
I don't know
answer,
that they even do, but they should.
That's true.
Right.
The answer should be, who goes to therapy? You. That should be the basic answer. Yes, I know that sometimes a stigma is attached to going to therapy, but the answer should be you. I have no problem saying if I go to therapy. I'm sure Dr. Michelle has no problem saying if she goes to therapy, because if we go to the doctor when we have something going on, then we should be okay saying that we're going to the therapist. It's an appointment, just like you would if you had an earache or a tummy ache. Right?
Absolutely.
So, exactly. So people come to therapy pretty much to find assistance for something in their life that they're trying to find a solution for. People come to therapy to get help. People also come to get a form of support, or what else do they do?
So it's different things, and in including of that, oftentimes the question is, do I need therapy? Why would I need to go? People coming to therapy could be from personal challenges, low self-esteem, relationship issues. It could be grief. It could be mental disorders. So even the person who just wants to check in with their emotional health, I find that that's such an incredible part of someone who's really taking care of themselves. So it varies. I'd rather you came in and went for sessions to say, okay, I want to make sure that I'm good. I want to make sure I'm doing relationship well. I want to make sure that the family dynamics and stressors, am I dealing with them appropriately? All the way to if you have a loved one who has a mental illness, depression, anxiety, bipolar and schizophrenia, all of those, there's so many I've left out, but all of those could be reasons for people to come in for therapy.
So let's dive into some of the ones that I'll piggyback off of some of the ones that Dr. Michelle mentioned. For example, if we talk about mental distress, or let's do mental disorders first. Mental disorders, if we go about that, then the first thing that comes to mind to me would be things like depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah.
attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Those are some of the ones that come to mind for me when I'm thinking. And people seek therapy to come and treat the problem and also to learn healthy ways to cope.
Right.
And I know a lot of times these ones, when someone seeks therapy for these, it usually goes concurrently sometimes with medication.
Right.
So there are two people working together.
Yes.
There's a psychiatrist who's an MD who prescribes the medicine, but then there's a psychotherapist, aka us, who will then also then do the psychotherapy part with you.
Right.
So there is a partnership there.
Yes.
Is there anything I forgot with that particular section?
To understand that usually both of those, if you're under medication, usually your therapist will ask that you are consistently seeing your psychiatrist.
Exactly.
So that together you get the best results.
Exactly.
We know that medication compliance is a problem. And so if I'm seeing a client and they're not taking the medication, the work that I'm doing with them will not be effective. So I need to make sure that I'm working with the psychiatrist to see, okay, how do we make sure that he or she is taking the medication, coming for their sessions, because it's that collaboration that actually gives the best results, at least when we're talking about mental disorders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the next one I'll piggyback off of would be like distress. So one way the therapists check the severity of an issue, how serious it is by seeing how much distress it causes you.
Right.
And I'm going to talk about something that could be very relevant to you. Let's talk about someone going to college. Going to college and leaving home might be so much fun for someone who's dying to get out and be free and be an adult.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it might cause distress for someone else.
Right.
And when I say distress, I mean that for this particular person, whether it's a he or she, going off to college, yes, it's exciting, but being away from home might actually make them have insomnia, so they can't sleep, they can't eat. It affects the way they live, and that's distress. And for someone like that, that's when someone should see a therapist to try and figure out how to cope.
Right.
That's just one example.
Right.
What's another one you might have?
Another one could be that they're just not able to function in daily activities. So going to class, they're skipping class.
That's true.
Not because they're just cutting class for the fun of it, but cutting class because they just can't get out of bed.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I have to meet new people. How do I do that? The fear of engaging. I was so used to my home surroundings. This is so new to me. Even though they may have a job, an on-campus job or a full-time job, and they're just not being able to perform as, to their potential. So the projects are not being done on time, deadlines are not being met. So we are noticing that there's impairment in all areas of your life. Yeah.
Yep. Another one I'm going to talk about is communication. That's why some people come to therapy. Because many people come to therapy looking for ways to work with their relationships. And I mean, this means either they come as an individual, or they come as a couple, or they come as a family. And what they're trying to do is address a common source of distress, which is poor communication, which is leading to conflict. And there are some people who are highly skilled at doing that. Let me go back to that. There's some people who are highly skilled at doing that. And I'm looking at you because you're the marriage and family therapist. And you're great at that. So tell us a bit more about something like that.
Let me tell you, communication cannot be underestimated. And I will get the responses. So, what do you want to work on? Communication problems. Okay, that is so broad because there's so much in there. And sometimes even just how we communicate with ourselves. Do you keep saying negative things about yourselves? Do you think negative thoughts? All that is part of communication. So if you notice that you're not communicating effectively, sometimes you want to say something, but out of fear, you want to hold back. Maybe that's where the low self-esteem comes in. Maybe what will they think? I really cannot tell my mom this, or I can't tell my sister this because that's not how we communicate at home.
Especially since you know how your siblings and family react to things. So
absolutely.
That's why. Yes,
absolutely.
We all know
right.
that.
So being able to learn how to effectively communicate, that is so important.
It's so huge.
So, communication is with every dynamic. And so if you think you could improve on communication, if you think it's really bad, please call a therapist and clinical psychologist. Call and say, you know what, I want to work on this. I want to be better at this. You find maybe you're that student in college and you have a presentation and you're thinking, how am I going to present in front of class?
Yeah.
You know, so there's the stage fright, all of those things, because it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's where therapy really plays a big role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another one that I'm going to piggyback off of was support or coping. So now loss is a very common reason why people seek therapy.
Right.
But loss covers many, many areas. It's important for you to know that with loss, you're talking about grief, you're talking about sometimes it's abuse, sometimes it's a lost job, sometimes it's any change to a life circumstance that makes things different for you.
Right.
So when you hear the word loss and support, it doesn't only mean that maybe you have someone in your family or a friend of a friend who may have passed away. Those are other things that fall under loss. So those are things that you might also want to seek therapy for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If I can say a little bit about loss, like you said, you know, the extreme part of it is the loss of a loved one through death.
Yeah.
Divorce is a loss.
It is.
When we talk about blended families are born out of loss.
Exactly.
So there was a nuclear family at some point, maybe through divorce, maybe through a death, and then a new family is forming. There's loss there.
Exactly.
Relationships. It could be in relationships. Breakup.
Yeah, a breakup is a loss.
Absolutely.
Some of us don't think of it that way. We think of it as a regular life.
Right.
But it is a loss. It's
It
something
is.
different. It's a change in your circumstance.
Yeah.
And yes, it affects some people more than others. But whatever you do, don't downplay someone who is going through it.
Right.
Because you're not sure exactly what their situation is.
True.
Yeah.
And another one that we might not really think about is loss of self.
Yeah.
And I'll often, you know, when I work with couples, sometimes they'll say, I lost myself. Somewhere along the line, I lost myself. So there could even be that, who am I? Like, how did I get here?
Before I was mom.
Right.
Before I was dad.
Right, or
husband,
wife.
Yeah. Who was I?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we find that a lot of times with relationships, we focus on compromising.
Yeah.
But sometimes you over compromise.
Right.
And that's when you start to feel like you've lost yourself.
Absolutely.
And for situations like that, of course, then you make an appointment and see your therapist.
Yeah.
There is no shame in that.
No.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely.
None.
Yeah.
And of course, self-exploration is the last one I'm going to focus on.
Okay.
Because sometimes you just want to know, why do I behave the way I do?
Yeah.
Why do I think the way I do? Why do I react to situations the way I do?
Yeah.
So in order to be able to understand where it comes from, you self-explore. And the way to do that sometimes is through therapy. Yeah. It's not going to be a session where we give you answers or we give you advice.
Yeah, for sure.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it now
Yes.
that we do not give advice.
Yeah.
It's not the thing we do. But we help you figure out a way to cope. But a lot of the work is done by you, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a heads up.
Yeah.
Heads up about that one.
I think this has got to be my most favorite one.
Yeah.
Self-exploration.
Yeah.
When someone is taking the initiative to be better, to be the best version of themselves. You've heard that phrase before. To be intentional, to live life fully.
Yeah.
And they're taking on this journey to say, yeah, you know what? It's not all good. There's some things about myself that I don't like, and I want to work on them.
Yeah.
That for me is always such a gift to the self.
It is.
And I really encourage people to do that. So yes, if you just want to figure out who am I and am I living my potential?
Yeah.
Please, that's the avenue to take, and let the professionals help you navigate that.
Exactly. And it
So you
takes
don't have to do it
self-awareness too.
alone. Yeah.
It takes some self-awareness
Yeah.
because again, even that could also be that you're trying to figure out, where am I going in my career?
Right.
So it doesn't have to be something super dramatic for you to see a therapist. Where am I going in my career? What are my goals?
Right.
Personal and relationship goals.
Yeah.
Because sometimes some people do that. So self-exploration covers many things. It
Yeah.
needs self-awareness for
Yeah.
you to recognize that you need to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So pretty much that kind of sums up our first part.
Yeah.
But I have to use this quote from Ryan House and from Psychology Today, because of course, as I said, I always have notes. It says, Psychology Today says, a large majority of those with a history of either therapy or medication report that the treatment was effective.
Yeah.
So therapy does work.
Yeah.
Therapy does work.
Yeah.
Yes, granted, it requires some work to find a therapist who you get along with, which is our next section, but therapy does work.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So that was the first part of the 3 series.
Yes.
Opening of Psychology Demystified. As you can see, I'm grinning from ear to ear because I'm so excited. I was super nervous. So I had my own mini therapy session right here. And I'm not ashamed to say that.
Yeah.
Because I needed to know where this is going.
Yeah.
So welcome to that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the love I've received with the other videos. I'm hoping there's as much love with this one as well.
Yeah.
Please feel free to comment so that we know some topics you might want us to cover.
Yes.
Remember, we're not going to give you advice, but I have to keep repeating that just so that you know that when I see a question asking for advice, it's not that I'm going to ignore it. It's just ethically, it's not what we do.
Right.
And as you can see, Dr. Michelle is nodding. So
Yeah.
we didn't plan that.
Yeah.
Remember, this is always going to be unscripted. I may have notes, but we go off the cuff.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
again, life is off the cuff.
Yeah, it is.
So I'll prepare,
Yeah.
but sometimes my notes might go out the window. And
Yeah.
yes, I'll always have this. Please don't forget to subscribe down below and keep on watching. Hopefully, if you subscribe, you'll know when the next one comes out. So thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. I truly appreciate this.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon. Don't
Yeah.
forget to subscribe.
Thank
Bye.
you.